Okay. Thank you for bringing up the Funimation sellout, because it seems like nobody's really talked about it, even Funimation, since it happened. So I'm wondering, what, if anything, do you expect might change with this most recent?
With the buyouts?
Yeah.
With Funimation, I really don't expect any changes, because largely Navari, when they owned them, they were just doing their distribution anyway and providing some back-end help in getting them done. All the day-to-day decisions, the licensing, all the other stuff, that was all handled by Funimation themselves. They didn't have a lot of interference to say, oh, go after this or go after that, because Navari didn't know. That wasn't their principal job. They were just looking to try and get into entertainment a little more because of the other companies they had. And now that they're done with it, Funimation they're not any more free to do stuff than they were before. They're doing what they were doing before. They just know they're fully under their own control again. Going up to get stuff. Yeah, the Bruins.
I was looking on Crunchyroll, and I was amazed actually to see Gundam Wing, of all things, on there. It's like, whoa, a show from when I was getting into anime. And I was wondering if you think that shows like that might get a sort of second wind in fandom, but sort of like we had all these older titles that came out on VHS or DVD in the 90s. And so we, it was what we were exposed to. It was what we got, and where we have all these people to whom anime is something you stream, and they might, do you think that they might check out something like Gundam Wing or something and they get like a second burst of fandom, or do you think it's just going to be everyone's watching the new hotness?
Yeah, that's the thing. Gundam Wing was huge when it came out. I remember the first Anime Boston. We had all the voice actors here for the dub side, and it was a rock show for them. It was huge. But you mentioned Gundam Wing to people now, and they're like, "What's that?" But you mentioned Gundam in general, and outside of maybe some people remembering 00, it's just not that big a thing.
I was just using that as an example.
Yeah, but that's just it. Even with the really big, well-known properties, once they're done, it's very hard to get a second win. You get more of it in the U.S. because in Japan, the show is done, it's over, it's like when you were reviewing, it's gone. They're on to the next thing. You get a little bit more of that here, but even that, a Gundam that's 10, 12 years old, it's very hard to reignite an old show unless there's something new to latch onto. Yeah, but even that's an interesting case because it's popular, it's doing really well in Japan, but that's an oddball there to begin with. And it's getting a lot of attention here, but it's disconnected from what everybody grew up here watching for Gundam, because they all saw the alternate universes, the Gundam Wing, what was the other crappy one?
G.
No, G Gundam was awesome.
No, it wasn't.
They didn't see Gundam.
I'm pouring at you now.
The worst Gundam show ever made.
No, there was that other one that did a couple.
Wasn't the sombrero? That was a great.
That was awesome.
That was outstanding.
It was a
Absolutely.
flying Gundam horse.
Seed?
Seed, that was it. Seed drove me nuts. So, Seed did fairly well, but it's all very generational. It's very hard to go back an older generation and bring something up again. So, I don't. Some shows will gain a little bit of exposure online, but they've all been out there to one degree or another. So if somebody wanted to see it or was told to see it, they would have already seen it if they wanted to. There would be some casual drift onto it. It's nice to have it all on there if you ever want to go back.
Right.
But there won't be like a resurgence. You're not going to find there's all of a sudden the Gundam Wing fan base building out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then dominating a convention or anything. I don't think we'd ever see that again.
You just need to look in the halls.
Yeah.
How many cosplayers are there?
In the red.
This new remake I saw down at one of the dealer things with the Dragon Ball Z where they just no filler, all action.
Yep.
Is that just a giant cry for help? We need cash to buy our stuff, or is it anything new? Because I have all the old stuff and I watch them all.
I've been reviewing it. It's an interesting show to watch. I had a lot of problems with the first set because it just was so rushed. I don't think it was a cry for cash. I don't think Toei's that hard up. They've got a huge money basket to begin with. I think it was an interesting experiment on their part more than anything to put the name out there to try and build the video game properties a little more by doing something fresh. It ran for 90 weeks or something when they brought it down from 290 episodes to the 100 or so. I've actually enjoyed it once I got into it a little bit.
It just seems like it's the Star Wars remastered, video mastered. Go through.
If they took Jar Jar out of all of them, then it would be. Then I would buy it. I would be like, this is the best thing ever. You know, each is it's. That's a rarity, and I think it's just an interesting idea. I'm glad it wasn't done by a U.S. company. As long as the Japanese said, hey, we want to try this out and see what we can do. Because if it was a U.S. edit, we would have been screaming from our lungs. It's like, you know, you're denying us the real thing. But this is saying, let's try this and see what we can do. Nice new animation to it. It would look a little off, but we got a nice high definition transfer out of most of it. And we lost almost 200 episodes of. So that was a big plus.
Sorry, I just wanted to take on the case closed. That's useful. Okay, thank you.
All right. In the front.
Do you think that any of the companies, anime or manga, are going to ever start doing some print-on-demand stuff? I know Tokyopop did for a few months.
Doing the print-on-demand, but there's just not been that much of a draw for it because the printing isn't the huge cost at this point anymore. There's enough, some cost in it because you do scheduling, distribution, and so forth. But it's really the heavy part is the localization, the license requirement, and so forth. If the Japanese companies got into it, which it's anti their approach. If they did it, I think we'd see a lot more. It's the thing of, okay, here's all of Cadantra's library. It's all translated. Pick the volume you want. People would flock and just start grabbing something they never thought would get picked up. And the other problem Tokyopop really had with it was that they didn't really market it. All of a sudden the title would flip. It's like, oh, that's print on demand now. And I talked with retailers and like, we just got this list, all these titles we can't sell anymore. That they've been marketing for a couple of months and saying, here, pre-order this. And then they get they send out the email notifications to people like, well, we can't sell it anymore, it's print on demand. And they're like, what's that? So they lose sales and it's been a losing proposition from the start. They tried that on the anime side too. It was interesting because it was for a couple of titles that wouldn't have made it over here otherwise, but it was hard. They just had a lot of issues with it. It's not mature enough to really do it. It's not like we can just go to the kiosk and get it. If it was that, or just the print on demand in sense of like a Nook or an e-reader or Kindle or something, that's where I think we're going to see it go eventually. Because they're going to be the Japanese manga companies are going to be working to internationalize it all. So it'll get there, but it's not going to be what we're expecting today.
Okay.
Come on, take a prize. All right, where have I not been? Hold off on you. In the black there.
I'm a fan of older anime. If you butcher semantics and things like that, I love Yawara.
Which one?
Yawara.
Yeah.
And any idea what's going on with anime Ego or that show? Will I ever see it?
They want to do it. I think it's one of those companies you so rarely hear from that I feel like I've seen the news and I still feel like I'm saying it secondhand. But I think they said that they couldn't acquire the license for the rest of it because they had it at one point and then, or they had the option for the next, and then things changed. It may have been like a folding company issue in Japan or something, but they want to do it, but they don't have the rights to it, and they haven't been able to. And I don't know if the first set sold well enough realistically for them to pursue it. The Japanese may say, oh, you sold that many sets? Well, the next set is twice as much, which would kill them because they can't justify it. Because if you sold 1,000 copies, the chance of you selling 2,000 of the second volume is like nil, because nobody had the first 1,000. So, pop and grab stuff. Great.
Oh, okay, yeah. Last year, it seemed like a lot more Japanese Blu-rays did come for the first time with English subtitles. It seems like they're sort of testing the waters there and might be more successful. But mostly it's just all been like OVAs and movies. I'm wondering why there haven't been any TV anime released that way. Is it because like you're putting more eggs in the same basket with like volume 1, volume 2, or is like the right holder situation different?
There's been a couple different ways of doing it. There've been a lot of releases in Japan itself that have been marketed over here, but just for the home market, what they included. And it's only because they have the rights to it themselves from, Funimation put it out, or Sentai, or ADV, and they can grab it and put it on.
The original ones.
Yeah.
Coming first on like the Nanomon movie, Black Rock Shooter and stuff like that.
Yeah, they've been doing some additional things too, and you see those happening more with the smaller companies, smaller production houses that are like, well, let's see if we can, because they know the Blu-ray is going to be picked up elsewhere. Like BlackRock, they stream part of that online too, from what I remember. So they're trying to see if they can get international sales. Like the Package It 1, they did the same thing. They put it out on Blu-ray, they streamed it, they gave you DVDs, they did it all on the same day. And so they're trying to go that route. But it's only, you know, it's a drop in the bucket. There are more of the bigger companies that are putting stuff on there. You've got Aniplex trying a different approach. They're trying a different variation of what Bandai Visual did a few years ago by putting subtitles on the Blu-rays that they have in Japan and then selling them over here 5 months later, usually cheaper. We got all the Bacano TV series for like $80. But if you bought it when it came out in January, you would have paid $250 in Japan for it. But they're also trying the other approach. They put out Garden of Sinners over here as a straight import, but they sold it for $400 because you were not really localizing it, you were getting the import itself. So there's a couple different approaches being tried, but they've always tried it over the years. And nothing really seems to stick because still people aren't buying it. So it always comes back to that. The white.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask about Aniplex of America, and do you think that they'll add more money into the dubbing realm with like the Rah getting a dub, or do you think that was a one-off experience? Because I know like they got a lot of good talent for that dub, but maybe that could help.
They know dubs are important and they want to do them, and they're being choosy in what they actually think could break through. I don't think they're hoping for a TV deal for anything. They wouldn't object to one, but they're doing the dubs only on things that they consider a surefire hit, just like how Sentai's really doing it. They've tried a couple where they went a little further and it burned them a little bit. We had the Go-Go 13 we were told was going to get a full dub, but they stopped halfway through the series. It just didn't meet expectations. And I think they would have received a lot more backlash by just dropping the dub and going forward with the rest and just dropping the whole thing. Aniplex isn't bringing out a lot of stuff, and they're still working partnerships with everybody too. They still have stuff that goes to Funimation. There was one going to NIS as well. So they're playing the game a little bit for what they're keeping for themselves. Even there, they're going, well, maybe. So
yeah, because I know that people were talking about like Darker Than Black Blu-ray would maybe come from them instead of Funimation.
There's a potential for that. How they're dealing with their Blu-ray licenses and what they're letting out is really confusing. You know, I fully expected Bacano to be a Funimation Blu-ray, and to have it come out of them was just like completely unexpected.
I think they are releasing a Blu-ray, a limited edition.
Aniplex did, yeah, not Funimation though.
Oh, okay.
So it's weird. I don't know what to. It's like NIS. I don't know what they're going to do day to day. They put out the announcement they're doing DVD Blu-ray combo now for subtitle only sets, and that was like, wow.
Yeah.
You know, it made no sense. I mean, it's great. I love it, but it just was not what I expected out of a small company doing that. And Aniplex, their strategy is their own. I don't know what it is, and it's a Japanese strategy, so it's title by title, and you never know what you're going to get until they announce it, because you don't even know what they have most of the time. Because they're trying to say, am I going to get more money by letting Funimation do it, or am I going to get more money doing it myself? And if I let Funimation do it, but just the DVD, will I make enough money to make it worth the Blu-ray? Because I can do all my Blu-ray costs at home in Japan, because I'm going to sell it there anyway, and then take their dub and sub. So it's really hazy with them.
At some point, do you think that, you know, an anime company might consider themselves so art house that they will refuse to do a dub and insist that they'll only do a subtitled version of this?
AnimeGo. That's them. They are pure art house. Now that pet project. They just do what they want to do. I don't think they ever really wanted to get into dubbing. They liked what they did because they had some really good stuff. But I think it was more just like, we did it. You know? But the number of companies that we have, it's just, even when you get the art house titles, they're going to places like Sony. And they're putting them out. They're still going to do a dub for it because they want to appease all the different markets that they're appealing to. Not many art house titles are going to get picked up, unless it goes to, you know, a Sony or an Anchor Bay or Stars or something like that.